Errol Spence versus Keith Thurman to take place sometime in February. It's your boy Cardinal Red Sports. Let's talk about it. Alright, y'all, so a lot more news came out today surrounding Errol Spence Jr.'s next fight, which has been mandated by the WBC to be Keith one-time Thurman with special rules attached. Alright, y'all, it's a lot to break down in this article that I just read, but the bulk of the information is regarding Errol Spence Jr.'s next fight, and yes, it will be Keith one-time Thurman. A lot of people are reporting that this fight is going to take place on February the 4th, but in the article, there was no mention of the date, and there was something else mentioned in the article, basically that the WBC or Errol Spence Jr. can choose to change the date. So it might happen in February, it might not happen in February. It might happen sooner than that. I put out a video earlier saying that it might happen in December, which I feel like is way too soon, but is very possible. Now, they were saying that the WBC can also change the date on their own accord. It's up to them if they want to change the date from February to a later date or an earlier date, because they apparently have some type of period to where mandatories have to take place. Okay, let's break this down a little bit more. So in my last few videos, I've reported that Errol Spence Jr. was supposed to take on Eimantas next. Instead of Stanionis getting to fight Errol Spence Jr. next, the WBC basically chumped the WBA, got the WBA to back off basically, and allow Keith Thurman to fight Errol Spence Jr. And what's going to happen is Eimantas is going to fight Vergil Ortiz next for the WBA regular title, because the WBA is unifying all of their titles into a sole title for the welterweight division. That means that the regular title and the super title are going to finally be combined, because Manny Pacquiao had him at one time and they took the regular title away from him and they didn't give him like a sole title as the king or the top dog of the welterweight division. So the winner of Eimantas versus Vergil Ortiz will be taking on the winner of Keith Thurman versus Errol Spence Jr. And what that means is there will not be an Errol Spence versus Terrence Crawford fight taking place in 2023. Wow. I told y'all this was probably going to happen and nobody was believing me, but because of all the mandatories going on in the background of Errol Spence Jr., he's put into this peculiar situation of having to defend all those titles. And not only that, he has all these mandatories that are standing in the way of him going to fight Terrence Bud Crawford. So he's not moving to 154, at least not for another 2 years, because he has to take the Keith Thurman fight, and that's going to happen earlier in the year. Then he has to take either the Vergil Ortiz or the Eimantas fight later in the year or early 2024. So that, I'm telling y'all, the Terrence Crawford fight now is off the table, and it ties up Spence for at least another year and a half. So 154 is also off the table. You know what, man? It's crazy, all this stuff that's coming out, but I figured Eimantas was going to have to be in the mix because of that contract that was signed. And speaking of that contract, at the end of the article, they said that this is why I know Terrence Crawford ducked now. Terrence Crawford knew all of this stuff in the beginning, and he knew it was going to play out this way. Not only that, at the end of that article, it stated that Eimantas, if he wins, or Vergil Ortiz, if he beats Eimantas, is guaranteed a shot. And it said in there that that shot supersedes everything. And this is what I've been calling for. No matter what, there is no more step-aside money going on. Errol Spence is going to have to defend his title against either Vergil Ortiz or Eimantas. And if you're Terrence Crawford, you can't do nothing but be smiling from ear to ear right now, because basically everything's playing out in your favor. Errol Spence is going to have to fight all the tough fights. You get to go fight a bunch of weaklings. You only got one title, and you get to avoid Vergil Ortiz next. There's no way Vergil Ortiz is going to try to enforce his mandatory on Terrence Crawford with only one title, and Errol Spence holds 3 titles. It's definitely going to be Vergil Ortiz or Eimantas fighting Errol Spence next. It's not going to be Terrence Crawford. It's going to be Thurman and then one of those. Not only that, the only way Terrence Crawford escapes without having to face one of the young guns is if Vergil Ortiz loses to Eimantas. He would lose his spot in the rankings anyway too, so he might get a shot at Terrence Crawford, he might not. But what we do know is Terrence Crawford won't be fighting Errol Spence anytime soon. He actually escaped. Well, you can't catch a duck. I think that's it for now. Holler at me on all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter. But you're more than likely to get a response on the tube, so holler at me over there. It's your boy, and we are man.
Let's say the truth, Errol Spence. You the truth. You got 3 belts, and you never seen Keith Thurman. That's the truth. Okay? So, look, man, I have the full capacity to become, a world champion again. With my skills and my talent, with my dedication, with the right preparation in the training camp. Now that my body's going and flowing, I got the rust off. I'm already moving. I'm taking care of my weight management better than ever. I'm ready, man. I'm ready for whatever this beautiful world of boxing has to throw at me. Saying I'm not a gatekeeper. I have the capacity to go toe-to-toe, blow for blow with these undefeated champions right now. Stop playing.
And I'm on the go, blowing them trees when I'm on the road. DJ spin it and they on the flow, but it seems these motherfuckers still don't know. I'ma call this freestyle my cash flow. Tighter than a belt on the last hole. Kidel Castro. Whenever the females ask for the lasso, send them to the nigga that sag low. I brag so motherfuckers know about mine. Breathe smoke when I'm spitting like it's cold outside. Niggas stressed out cause his baby mama is with me. With another chick they acting like Madonna and Britney. See I'm a legit G, so I'ma eventually have both of my palms on a city. Now y'all get pissy when I stop it like blocking your kidney. Leonardo da Vinci at the top of the century. Flow so artistic. Y'all niggas been the same for years like Bart Simpson. So you can politely bite me. Now who you know is nice is Mike T. Precisely. And I'm on the go. Blowing them trees when I'm on the road. DJ spin it and they on the flow, but it seems these motherfuckers still don't know about that nigga named Keys coming off the block. Still spitting hot flows off the top. Got the girls in the telly getting off the chain. The nigga named Lewis Keys finna change the game. You want beef? Prepare for the devil. Put a dot right on your eyebrow like Ern Neville. It's a pern, I'm a rebel. Knock you off, break bread with your parents to settle out of court. Every forgot me all out of sorts. Up north, they